Have you ever wondered about the dynasty that shaped Europe for centuries? In the annals of history, few families can claim to have had as profound an impact as the House of Habsburg. Our story begins in the 11th century, nestled within the humble valleys of Switzerland, where the Habsburgs first laid their roots. This modest beginning, however, belied the grandeur that was to come. The Habsburgs, you see, were not merely content with ruling a small corner of Europe. They aspired to more, much more. They sought power, influence, and dominion, and they found it not through conquest but through a far more subtle and cunning means: marriage. Marriage was their weapon, their tool, their secret weapon. By carefully selecting their partners, they strategically linked themselves to other influential families. This clever use of matrimonial diplomacy allowed them to extend their influence, amass wealth, and acquire new territories without ever unsheathing a sword. But it was not until the reign of Rudolf III that the Habsburgs truly began to make their mark on history. Rudolf II ascended the throne in the year 1273, becoming the King of the Romans. This was a pivotal moment for the Habsburgs. It was the turning point, the moment when they stepped out from the shadows of obscurity and into the limelight of European politics. Rudolf I's reign was the first spark, the ignition that would eventually set the world ablaze with Habsburg power. His rule set the stage for what was to come. It was the beginning of a dynasty that would span centuries, a dynasty that would shape the very fabric of Europe. And thus, the groundwork was established for a dynasty that would shape the course of European history. From these humble beginnings, the Habsburgs would rise to become one of the most influential families in history, their legacy indelibly etched into the annals of time. How they achieved this, and the impact they had on the world, is a tale for the ages. But that, dear listener, is a story for another time. From humble beginnings, the Habsburgs ascended to unprecedented heights. The dynasty's rise to power was largely due to the strategic marriages and political maneuverings of its leaders. At the helm of this golden era was Maximilian I. His reign marked a significant expansion of the Habsburg territories. Through his marriage to Mary, Duchess of Burgundy, he inherited vast territories, including the Netherlands and parts of Italy. Maximilian's diplomatic acumen wasn't limited to his own matrimonial alliances. He also arranged for his son to marry Joanna, the daughter of the Spanish monarchs Ferdinand and Isabella. This union laid the groundwork for the Habsburgs' control over Spain. Charles V, Maximilian's grandson, took the Habsburg power to a new level. He ruled over a realm so vast that he famously declared, "In my realm, the sun never sets." His territories spanned across Europe, from Spain and the Netherlands to Austria and parts of Italy, and even reached the newly discovered Americas. Under his rule, the Habsburgs' influence permeated not only the corridors of power but also the realms of culture and society. However, managing such a vast empire was no easy task. Charles V decided to divide his territories, leaving his brother Ferdinand the Austrian and German lands, while his son Philip II inherited Spain, the Netherlands, southern Italy, and the overseas colonies. Philip II continued the Habsburg legacy of political dominance and cultural influence. He solidified Spain's position as a global superpower and was known for his patronage of the arts, contributing to what is now known as Spain's Golden Age. Yet the Habsburgs' power was not unchallenged. Their rule was marked by religious conflicts, political intrigue, and constant warfare. Nonetheless, they managed to maintain their grip on power and left an indelible mark on the annals of history. At their pinnacle, the Habsburgs were the sun around which Europe orbited. Their influence resonated throughout the continent, shaping the course of European history and leaving a legacy that continues to echo through time. But even the mightiest empires wane, and the Habsburgs were no exception. The cracks in the Habsburg Empire began to show following the abdication of Charles V. He divided his vast territories between his brother Ferdinand and his son Philip, leading to the formation of the Spanish and Austrian Habsburg lines. The Spanish Habsburgs ruled over Spain, the Netherlands, the Kingdom of Naples, and the New World colonies. Meanwhile, the Austrian Habsburgs held dominion over the Holy Roman Empire and Austria. While this division allowed the Habsburgs to manage their territories more effectively, it also marked the beginning of their decline. The Habsburgs were plagued by numerous problems. Military defeats began to chip away at their power. Financial woes strained their coffers. But perhaps most infamously, the Habsburg jaw, a physical deformity resulting from repeated intermarriage within the family, became a symbol of the dynasty's decline. This practice of intermarriage, intended to consolidate power and maintain the purity of the bloodline, had unintended consequences, leading to health problems and a weakening of the gene pool. The War of Spanish Succession, fought in the early 18th century, was a further blow to the Habsburgs. The death of Charles II of Spain, who had no direct heirs, led to a power struggle between the Habsburgs and the Bourbons of France. The war ended with the Treaty of Utrecht in 1713, which marked the end of Spanish Habsburg rule. The Spanish crown passed to the Bourbon dynasty, while the Austrian Habsburgs managed to retain their territories. However, the damage was done. The Habsburgs were a shadow of their former selves, their power diminished, their territories reduced. The sun was setting on the once great Habsburg Empire. The mighty dynasty that had once stood tall was now on the brink of collapse, a poignant reminder of the transience of power and the inevitability of decline. The sun was setting on the once great Habsburg Empire. The Habsburgs' twilight years were marked by a desperate struggle to cling on to power. As the sun began to set on the illustrious Habsburg dynasty, a compelling figure emerged. Maria Theresa, a woman of immense courage and resilience, took reign amidst a tumultuous period of European history. Maria Theresa ascended to the throne in the year 1740, sparking the War of Austrian Succession. A woman ruling in a man's world, she faced opposition from all sides, yet she remained steadfast, her resolve forged in the fires of adversity. She fought valiantly not just for her right to rule but for the survival of her dynasty. Maria Theresa was more than just a warrior queen. She was also a forward-thinking reformist. Never one to shy away from change, she implemented sweeping reforms that transformed the face of her empire. She strengthened centralized control, revitalized the army, and introduced compulsory education. Her reign was a beacon of enlightenment amidst the gathering darkness. However, the Habsburg dynasty was teetering on the edge of oblivion. The death of Charles II in 1740 marked the end of the Habsburgs. The torch was passed to the Habsburg-Lorraine line, a new era was ushered in, and the once mighty Habsburgs receded into the annals of history. Yet, the story of the Habsburgs does not end with their fall. Their legacy continued to shape the course of history. The reforms implemented by Maria Theresa laid the groundwork for a modern state. The Habsburgs' influence can still be seen today in the cultural and architectural richness of the regions they ruled. The Habsburg dynasty, once the most powerful in Europe, may have faded away, but their impact remains indelible. They were the architects of an empire, the shapers of history, and their story is a testament to the enduring power of legacy. Though the Habsburg line ended, their legacy persisted. Their tale is a fascinating journey through the annals of history, a voyage into the heart of power, ambition, and the indomitable human spirit. The Habsburgs were more than just a dynasty, they were a historical odyssey. This phrase captures the essence of the Habsburgs' journey, a sweeping saga of power, ambition, and influence that spanned centuries and continents. Let's take a step back and look at how far we've come. From humble beginnings in the Swiss Alps, the Habsburgs rose to become one of the most powerful dynasties in Europe. At the height of their power, their dominion stretched from the sunny coasts of Spain to the frosty hinterlands of Austria. But as with all great empires, decline was inevitable. The Habsburgs faced their share of trials and tribulations, from the division of their lands to the loss of their imperial status. Yet, even as their power waned, they left a deep and lasting impression on the face of Europe. Their influence extended beyond politics and territorial boundaries. They shaped the cultural and artistic landscape of Europe, patronizing great artists like Velázquez and contributing to the Baroque movement. They also left a genetic legacy, their distinctive features passed down through generations. But the Habsburg story didn't end with their fall. Far from it. In fact, their saga continues to resonate today. Their lives, their reigns, their triumphs and tragedies are still the stuff of books, films, and even video games. Whether it's the tragic tale of Empress Elizabeth, known affectionately as Sisi, the dramatic exploits of Charles V, or the enigmatic reign of Maria Theresa, the Habsburgs continue to intrigue us, to captivate us, to draw us into their world. And why wouldn't they? After all, theirs is a story of humanity in all its glory and its folly. It's a story of ambition and power, of love and loss, of triumph and tragedy. It's a story that reminds us of our own potential, our own capacity for greatness and for failure. And so the Habsburgs, a dynasty that started in the Swiss Alps and ended in the palaces of Vienna, continue to intrigue and captivate us centuries after their reign.